Hey, thanks for joining us. It's another cake mix-up inside Cake with Kiersey. I am your host, Kiersey, here with Miss Super Nerd. We are here every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. live to air on vexradio.com. So if you're going to invite your people, send them to vexradio.com now, and they can join the conversation. If you're listening to this as a broadcast, you can find the links to all I've lost count, but all the previous shows. If you want to go back in time and listen, it's December. It's the November issue of the Cake Mix-Up, but it is December, and we have a few weeks left in 2016, which is just crazy to me. The last month has just zipped by in my world anyway, and before we go any further, I have to apologize for last week show. I was going to say we didn't actually have a show. We were here. We were all ready. Kinetic, Miss Super Nerd, and myself were all ready to go. Technical issue is what caused the show not to go on. We tried and tried and tried. We hung out for a while. So apologies for that. But we're going to deliver what we promised last week, and that is looking back over the last month, November, the highlights and not so highlights of the last month. Things have happened in news, social media, just in our lives. And so we're going to take a look back. And soon we're going to do a year end wrap up show where we'll just look back at the whole year and all the talks we've had and some of the, yeah, we'll just take a stroll down memory lane. How are you doing tonight, Miss Super Nerd?
I'm chilling.
Chilling.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
You sound very chill. Yeah. So that's a good thing sometimes. You got to be able to go into that mode, in that zone sometimes. But I know you're a busy person. Care to share what's going on in your world
Ah,
lately?
let me see.
Just some of it, even.
I'm currently in exam mode. So for those who don't know, I'm a full-time student, and I did 2 exams last week. I have 3 exams this week, plus a few other tests.
Mhm.
And then I'm on break until December 19th when my next session of classes start. So I'm doing that and just winding down the year at work. I was actually at work until about 3 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
So that was fun times,
Mhm.
dealing with all the year end reporting and all that other good stuff. What else? Um, oh, I'm getting ready to do a parasite cleanse. So if anybody follows me on Instagram at Miss Super Nerd, 3 S's, not two, I posted about parasite cleanses last week, and I kind of gave a brief overview on why you should do a parasite cleanse and how to do a parasite cleanse if you look in the caption for the post. So I'm getting ready to do that starting next week. So that's going to be interesting because I am officially transitioning to veganism. So yeah, so that's what I have on my plate. What else is new and exciting? I think that's about it. Work and school wise, I don't have any trips planned, kids. And I
Mm.
usually have a trip for y'all, but I am on a trip hiatus until the spring because of work and school. Um, oh, I'm also getting ready to relaunch my blog. So I am just in the final construction process of the site and all the back end with my amazing web designer. And that should be up in the next couple of weeks, definitely before Christmas. So I'm excited about that. And I'll have more information about healthy eating, parasite cleanses, weight loss, fitness, traveling, all of that good stuff will be downloaded onto there so that everybody will have access to it. And it'll be updated fairly frequently. So y'all will be able to get a lot of goodies on there. And I think that's about it for me.
That's a lot. But it's funny. I was at a health food spot today, and well, not food, but supplements and all that. What do you call that? Like a health store. Um, and she mentioned that when we were talking about a specific, like a supplement and antioxidants actually, and went into speaking about cleanses. So, but I actually picked a box up and I was looking at one. So I'm interested in the timing of it for you.
Okay,
Why now?
so why now? You know what? I
Yeah, like
usually
heading into the
do.
holidays. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't celebrate the holidays, so I I am what is known as an omnist, which basically means that I believe that all religions have a truth within them, and I respect learnings from all religions. So I take a little bit of everything from every religion because there's a lot of similarities and a lot of consistencies, and then there's a lot of things that are divergent based on region. But the core principles of every religion on the planet are exactly the same. So with that
Do
being
unto
said,
others.
uh, so
That's
with that
my
being
that's
said,
my go ahead.
beg your pardon?
No, I said do unto others. I mean, I've
Yeah.
broken that down so many times.
So all of those Ten Commandments, it all kind of spills over into every religion. So with that being said, I don't really celebrate the holidays in the sense of like big meals and all of that good stuff. And it's funny because my mother and I have actually been on this healthy living weight loss journey that started at the beginning of the year. We both woke up 2016 and we were like, this is not cute anymore. Like this, what's going on right now? We ain't doing this anymore. So we started off just, healthy eating and working out. And then it just kind of spiraled into this, okay, we don't eat red meat anymore. Then it was, we didn't really eat pork to begin with. And then it was, we don't eat, white meat anymore. And it was just seafood. And then, my mother saw some videos that she shared with me. And then it was, we just don't eat the animals anymore. And then it ended up just being, I was vegetarian and I've gone vegan before. So it's not the first time that I've gone vegan. But the last time that I went vegan for a man. I didn't go vegan for me. So when that situation didn't work out, I stopped being vegan and I found a burger. So with that being said, as the year was kind of going, as I was kind of going through the year, and with kind of like all the ups and downs and traveling all over the world, and being that I'm not traveling right now, I was just doing research online about things that cause different conditions. So fatigue. I actually stopped eating eggs about 3 weeks ago because I was eating eggs and then I woke up one morning and I had a rash all over my face that I couldn't justify. I've never had an allergy in my life. I'm not allergic to any medication. I'm not allergic to any like plants. I'm not allergic to anything. Allergies were a North American thing. I grew up not knowing that people had allergies. So when my face broke out, I was like, hold the heck up. I don't do allergies. So I went to a doctor. I actually went to an allergist and he was like, you have a food sensitivity. And I looked at him like he grew a second head. And he was like, you've never been sensitive to food. I was like, never in life. My family calls me a trash compactor. I can eat anything from anywhere and not have any reactions. The only thing that I've never been able to keep down is poutine. Only food on the planet. And I've been to Asia. I
That's
can't keep
funny.
poutine down. So he was like, well, maybe you should do a parasite cleanse. And I'm like, what's that? So he explained it. And I was like, okay. And so I kind of sat there and I was like, okay, so when do I want to do this? So I decided that I was going to do it from mid-December. There are different parasite cleanses that you can do, and there are different run times. You can buy them pre-packaged. You can make your own herbal mix in order to do it. 98% of parasite cleanses are all natural. You can get prescription parasite cleanses for people who have extreme parasitic infection. And just for people who are listening, everybody has parasites. So it doesn't matter if you live in Calcutta or if you live in Cancun or if you live in Calgary, everybody has parasites. Parasites come from contact with other human beings. They come from touching door handles, the bars on transit. They come from the food that you eat. They are airborne. They are everywhere. So just in case you thought you were one of the lucky few who don't have them, everybody has them. More so now than ever before because we no longer grow our own foods. So we really don't know how your food is being managed, handled, and being shipped to you. So I chose to do it mid-December to early January because I usually do a January detox or cleanse going into the new year because I like to start off my year with a clean slate. So I do energy cleanses. I do digital detoxes. I usually do like a green smoothie cleanse for 10 days. And I was like, you know what? Let me do this. So I'm really excited to do it because I've been doing research and I'm so hype about doing this that I've convinced my mother and sister to do it. My mother is telling everybody and their child about it. That's how excited she is. She's going vegan with me. Um,
Wow.
yeah, no, it's a whole conversion. But I can say that since the beginning of 2016 to the present, changing my diet, getting healthier, working with my trainer. I have a really dope trainer. And I've worked with other personal trainers that I love in the city. And there's so many amazing fitness professionals in the city that I have so much respect for. But working with all those people and just really focusing on my health and understanding that I need to fix the internal in order to correctly reflect the external, and understanding that parasites affect everything, including your cognitive functions. So they can parasites can trigger things like depression and anxiety, and they've been linked to schizophrenia. They are linked to fatigue, asthma, diabetes. Parasitic cleanses have helped people who are dealing with cancer. So there are so many different things that parasites can trigger, and so many different things that a parasite cleanse can fix. And being that I made a decision at the beginning of this year that I wanted to make my better best and be the best possible version of myself in every way, my sister calls me a mad scientist because everything that I put on me, everything that I ingest is organic. I make my own skincare products. I'm very selective about what I put in my hair. I don't use traditional deodorant. I make my own toothpaste. Um,
Mm,
so the parasite cleanse is 30 days that
mhm.
I'm doing. It's 30 days. It's fairly intense. You're not allowed to eat foods that are complex or simple sugars. So a lot of fruits are pulled off of the list. You cannot eat bread. You cannot eat rice. You cannot eat pasta. You cannot eat most grains because parasites actually feed off of those sugars. That's why people have sugar cravings. That's why diabetes is so high for a lot of North Americans because they're basically feeding these monsters within us. So you basically have to starve them in order to get rid of them. And then you take herbal supplements and you drink ridiculous amounts of water, which I already do. I drink about a gallon of water a day. And when you're done, your system is completely reset. People have experienced weight loss, or people who are struggling with weight gain could suddenly gain weight. People with vision problems could suddenly didn't need glasses. People with Alzheimer's have had a reversal in their dementia. Like, it's crazy how many things can be fixed with just a 30-day process and just saying no to sugar for 30 days. So the first round is 30 days. You take a break of about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how you're feeling, and to give your body enough time to kind of stabilize, as well as for any eggs, because parasites lay eggs in you. So any eggs to basically germinate, and then you do a second round. So you do another 30 days if it's your first time doing a parasite cleanse, and then you're basically good to go. And then after that, depending on where you live, depending on how you eat, you can do a parasite cleanse once a year. Some people do it 4 times a year, 3 times a year. It's all individual. But yeah, skin conditions, acne, eczema, rosacea, cured with parasite cleanses. So that's why I chose to do it this December because I wanted to go into 2017 renewed. And basically, my parasite cleanse, technically speaking, ends Valentine's Day next year. So this whole process is a love letter to myself.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. I feel like I just had, I don't know if I feel like I've been cleansed or I just feel very dirty right now and I need a cleanse. This
Yeah,
is
no, my mom was saying that she's like paranoid. Like now she looks at everybody different.
oh
Like
yeah.
when people are
Oh, I've
acting
already,
crazy. Now she's like, I
okay.
have to put hand sanitizer on everything. Every time somebody shakes my hand, I have to bust out. And I'm like, you so shady. And she's like, girl, I'm looking at them all kinds of crazy now.
Oh, but I do already. I'm so, and I have that moment, and I always wonder if people could see it on my face. Like, I really don't want to touch your hand, and I like it's nothing personal. It's not about your hygiene. Like, I don't know. I'm not judging. I don't look and think the person looks dirty. You could be the cleanest looking person. I'm just so not into touching things. I get so pissed, and I always voice my opinion when I'm cashing out, and you have to touch screens. I'm not like, who thought this would be a good idea? Like, who brought this back? I think we need to move from that in public spaces. Um, I door handle, like, I just a little bit of anxiety every time I approach something, but I'm always prepared. I have paper towels and stuff, and people, I think if they get a a little look in a peek into my purse, you see a bunch of paper towels and stuff. It's just that I need them to touch. But I'm not a germaphobe. Like I'm not crazy with it because I'll touch my own steering wheel. Like I'll touch things, but as soon as I go home and my phone gets wiped down, I clean, like things like that. But as far as what's going on the inside, I've seen things, I've read things, and I'm just like I can't even go into it until I
Yeah,
am ready to do something about it. I don't even want to know. I don't want to have the visual. I don't want to know what's
yeah,
crawling inside, what's
no.
doing. Mm-mm.
It's disgusting for anybody who's like, before you start doing research, because you've heard me talking about it, because you see me post about it. I'm going to give you the disclaimer because I kind of stumbled across this. There's somebody that I actually follow on Facebook, and he was the first person, sorry, Facebook, Instagram. He was the first person that I saw post about it. And he posted, it was like an image, and it was this thing that looked like like an orange rind, and somebody was poking at it, and something came out of it. And I was like, okay, I can't. Oh, Jesus, fix it now. And he was talking about parasites, and he was talking about parasite cleanses, but like he deleted the post because so many people had such adverse reactions to it.
Yeah.
But I will say to people, there are literally thousands of parasites and bacteria that exist. Okay, let me take that back. There are literally billions of different kinds of parasites and bacteria. Not all of them exist or can exist within the human body based on our own acidity, but there are probably a few thousand that can get to us. If you travel a lot, it's recommended that you do a parasite cleanse. And if you live in multicultural cities, it's recommended that you do a parasite cleanse because people who come from other countries may not be aware that they have parasites within them. So if they sneeze, if they cough, these things are floating in the ether, so you can inhale them. And I was like, okay, so when, my allergist was like, go ahead and, do this, parasite cleanse. I was like, okay. And I was like, what is it? And, he kind of explained it, but he was, very medical, and he's this, really sweet naturopath, and he's big on like, natural treatments. So he didn't really get into like the nitty gritty of like what's going on. And so I'm a nerd. I want to learn. I want to do a deep dive. I want to like dissect stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go research. And let me tell y'all, people, let me tell y'all, I spent probably a good 72 hours solid, like in total research time, 72 hours, just doing a deep dive. And then when I put my mother onto it, we have a Chromecast, and she decided to Chromecast this onto the big screen. Like, this is like 48 inches of parasite cleansing. And I'm just looking at her like, girl, you're doing too much. Like, I told you what it was. Trust me, you gave birth to me. I wouldn't want to kill you. But it is a bit traumatic when you realize what's going on. It is a bit terrifying, but I say to everybody, knowledge is power. Even if you don't make the decision to do the parasite cleanse right away, it is a great alternative to what is considered Western traditional medicine, which is a lot of synthesized products that treat the symptom, not the problem, and then trigger other side effects. So, I know people who have lupus who've done parasite cleanses and no longer need to go on chemo and no longer need medication.
Wow.
But I also know people who have used traditional medicine and are now on dialysis 8 hours a day. So I'm not a fan of medication that comes with side effects. If whatever you're putting into your body tells you that one of the side effects may be death or internal bleeding or hemorrhaging, then you probably shouldn't be taking it, and you should be looking at your doctor a little different. I'm like I said, my sister calls me the crazy chemist because now I'm hyper aware of everything. And, the chemistry of how we interact with the environment and how your skincare products could trigger cancer and other conditions because the water that you drink is not good for you. So if the products that you put on you, like people look at toothpaste. I was just having this conversation with my mother about toothpaste, and I got her onto natural toothpaste. And she was like, I've been using the same toothpaste my entire life. And I was like, if you look at the care instructions on a tube of toothpaste, it literally says you cannot give toothpaste to anybody under the age of 6, and you should use no more than a pea-sized amount. And if you have an adverse reaction, you should call poison control. Why would you brush your teeth with something that requires you to call poison control on a
I
daily
actually
basis?
saw a report on the news earlier about a hat that was sold at a store. I actually walked into one of those stores the other day at the mall. Um, they sell ladies wear, and the
Mm.
hat had a warning inside on the label, may cause cancer, or I think that's how they worded it, cancer. Um, oh my gosh, I forget the next one. I was stuck at cancer and something else. And they said right there on the label, they have to declare it, in order to be sold in Canada.
Hmm.
And obviously some chemicals in the the fibers that they've used, because they're man-made, and in the production, I'm sure, um, could be. And I mean, of course, they went in to explain that there's like a
Mhm.
0.001% chance that anything could
Mhm.
happen. But the fact that this could be on an article of clothing, so not even something that we may ingest, something that we actually eat and enjoy, something that we would wear, or just put on the top of the skin, has to come with labels nowadays. It's scary. It's just like, so sorry, when you were talking about the toothpaste and just like everything natural, but that's kind of also why, I mean, things like that, obvious things like that, where you see it and you step back or you research and you learn. But that's kind of like why I take this approach to, I'm halfway with it and say, we live in a world, until I live in a bubble where nothing, like the
I
air
don't
I
think you can
breathe.
ever live in a
I
bubble, but
know.
I think for me, being aware, number one, is really important, because somebody came to me because I posted about the products that we put on topically, because anything that you put on your skin is absorbed within 26 seconds max. Doesn't matter what it is. That's why chemical burns are so dangerous, because it's not just hitting your epidermis, it's literally going into your bloodstream in 26 seconds. It could cause a heart attack in 3 minutes. But everything that you put in your body topically, your body absorbs, because your skin is an organism. It's a living, breathing part of who you are. And while it's created to protect you, it's created to protect you based on a very organic existence, not the existence that we currently have. And while we as human beings have evolved and we're no longer even considered Homo sapiens, we're the next generation, we haven't evolved to match the chemical warfare that we have going on against us. So there is no way that you're going to be completely able to, eradicate everything that could potentially come for you. Human beings are at war on a daily basis with each other and with the very environment that we exist in. And it's a miracle for us to wake up on a daily basis, considering the conditions that we live in. But for me, I think over the last 5 or 6 years or so, which is kind of why the nickname is Super Nerd has stuck so much, I've had this voracious appetite to be extremely aware of what is going on around me, and this desire to be as equipped for transitions with what's going on around me. So understanding that the water that you drink and the water that you bathe in and the water that you cook with actually makes you dumber and more lethargic. And products used to clean that water were products used in gas chambers during the Nazi reign. Things like that makes you go, maybe I should pay attention. And understanding that there are natural counterparts that offset that. And so I may not necessarily be able to live in a bubble, but if I can increase my chances of increasing my vitality and increasing my immunity and being the best possible version of me, then dope. Understanding that one day I want to be a parent, and understanding that everything that currently goes on in me is going to affect my future offspring. So what I eat could trigger autism, or what I eat could trigger, Down syndrome beyond just genetics. There is also a responsibility to the people that I want to bring into the world. So for me, it's number one, taking care of me, myself, and I, and just being aware of the space that I exist in, and just kind of knowing that eventually I want to be a parent. So what am I doing to make sure that, beyond the finances and beyond the education, that when I bring somebody into the world, I'm bringing them in with the best fighting chance that they will have. So things like that are kind of what have triggered me. The parasite cleanse thing was, my rash has already cleared up and I haven't done a parasite cleanse, and that's because I just stopped eating animal products. But I still wanted to do it because I've lived all over the world. I travel extensively. I went to the Dominican Republic. I was sick as a dog for 6 out of 7 days. I went to Asia. I only ate food that I could identify 90% of the time, but there was 10% of the time where I was like, oh, let's just try it. I grew up in Africa, and there are foods there that, we eat that we don't eat here. And it's funny because when I'm talking to my mom about, the products and the processes of parasite cleanse, she's like, my grandmother used to talk about that when I was 8. And, it was just what we did. So a lot of these things that I'm learning are things that have existed for hundreds of years, but traditional medicine or traditional Western medicine doesn't include them because they're cures. They are not treatments, and there's a vast difference. And so, I share it with my friends. It's funny because I was sharing a product that I've been using for maybe 4 weeks with a friend of mine that's worked wonders for me. She started using it and she uses it now. So now every time I find something, she's like, "What is it? What does it do? What does it fix?" Because I'm willing to be a guinea pig to figure out if it does or doesn't work. So I mean, people. It's as with anything else. It's a choice, and you have to be mentally ready for it. The parasite cleanse is disgusting. People, let me just tell you this right now. It's disgusting. I've talked to people, read stuff, watched videos about people's experiences before, after, during. It's nasty. It ain't pretty. Some people have really great parasite cleanses. Like it's just a walk into the park and they're like, "Whoa, we're done." And then some people are like, "Yo, like I prayed. I started getting my will ready. Like it wasn't right. It wasn't right." And then some people are like, "You know what? I couldn't do it after day three." So as with anything, it's always mind over matter. Until you mentally commit to something, there's no way you're going to physically enact it. So I would say do your homework in phases and stages. And when you're ready, you'll do it. If you're not ready, you won't. I highly recommend it. I'll be more than happy to give my after the fact recap in January once it's done with round one. But I'm excited about it. I mean, the changes that I've made, changing my skincare products, hair care products, changing food has resulted in me losing 45 pounds in a year. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. And so I'll be following your blog and keeping up with that, with your, well, maybe not the details, not the cleanse, but just the results of everything. And it's, when I am a mother and about a year ago, was it? My daughter, or maybe even longer than that, she came to me saying she wanted to be vegan and go straight vegan overnight. And she refused to eat anything, and she started reading labels and just some things that she had seen online. And you want as a parent to support, but it's like when you don't even know yourself, and this is where children, I mean, there's so much truth to the whole fact that children are in our lives to teach us just as much as we are here to teach them and expose them to, or in different ways anyway. And um and that, I've always had a natural interest in different things, just if I come across things, but reading it to explain things to her, and sadly to explain why you can't just jump right in and without understanding your body and understanding why and what, you know what I mean? So, and honestly, my schedule at the time didn't really allow for all of that. And I wanted to reach out to an expert, a nutritionist, like someone, or a dietitian at the time, to speak with, who can explain it to her. And also, I didn't know much to just start cutting things out, putting things into my daughter's diet. So um, it goes back, like, why I thought about this was our responsibility as parents, like before the fact, during, and after, um, you know, uh, uh, being considering what our children are eating and exposed to, and yeah, being on top of that as well. So it's not just about looking good, or you know what I mean, vanity. Like, because I think a lot of people, when looking at nutrition or
mhm,
supplements, it's always based on, okay, like hair, skin, nails, or you know what I mean. It's
mhm.
not. It's just like overall health. So, but Kinetic is here. I just want to say hello, hello. How are you?
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Okay,
Hi,
we've
Mr.
been
Kennedy.
talking. We jumped into Miss Super Nerd's business and her life, and I don't know how much of it you caught, but we were talking about she was going into a cleanse, and I thought, I had just looked at some cleanses today and was wondering why now. But so we got into that. How was your week? How have you been?
I've been really busy. Picked up a new gig a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
I'm just kind of settling into that and staying busy.
as usual.
Yeah,
Okay.
trying to get that life we always want. So I don't have to work anymore.
You never stop working. I don't think you'll ever stop working.
Yeah, well, it's a hustle, but
Yeah,
it has to be by choice. But to compliment
yeah,
something
that's
that
it.
to compliment something Miss Supernerd was saying about this whole cleanse and stuff of that nature. On top of it, it's really ironic what she said, because that's the whole reason why people ask me why I turned into a pescatarian. Because I went straight from being I always say I'm a carnivore at heart, but I went straight from being a carnivore straight to vegan for like 5 years till I couldn't take it anymore. Then I became a pescatarian and only eat saltwater fish and salmon if I have to. Like if I go to a restaurant, they don't have like kingfish or snapper or something like that. I'll eat salmon in its placement as a substitute on the occasion. But the thing is, when she said that she has her you have to give your kids a fighting chance. That's exactly why I started saying. So when you come into the know and you start realizing all the stuff that goes in the food, like my reasons were kind of different. It was actually for that reason I said I'm going to give my kids a fighting chance. I said I want to give them the purest genes, at least on my side, as possible. Because if you think about it, with all the steroids and growth hormones and all that stuff, there's no wonder why there's a rise in cancer. It's right? It's pretty natural. So the end result is that also it was like as I said, that was the first reason, give my purest genes possible to my kids so they have that fighting chance. The second part is I didn't want to suffer when I get older, because as you're younger, right, your body,
everything works. Yep.
Yeah, but but as you grow older, you got to remember every 7 years we have a total new body. So everything that we've ingested, it takes 7 years for meat or toxins to come out of your body completely if they're contained within that meat. So it's for every ounce of meat you eat is 7 years. That's why when grandma or mom used to say, do you get a wash out every quarter? That was part of the whole thing, to wash out your colon so you can, you could survive longer and be able to help your body fight off these toxins and things that were in your body, right? So that's including with this parasite cleanse. You're supposed to be doing your wash out, as they say, or your colon cleanse every 3 months, every quarter,
And have you done a cleanse lately? Have you?
I'm pretty regular, and I do the traditional Cerecy tea. It's not like a total cleanse, but I do wash out incense. You know what I mean? And I think it's so important that and you flatten out, your stomach flattens out, and you know what I mean, and things of all nature. But so it is important. And I've never heard of a parasite cleanse per se. And when Miss Supernerd talked about it, I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because I travel a lot myself. Well, not this year, but I travel extensively, right?
I was waiting for you to say something. I was waiting for the shade. No,
I say not me. I was about to say, like, I haven't gone to Jamaica 3 times in the year, but
listen, the countdown begins.
And I have gone around the world in 1 year, ever.
Yeah, but I went with my homegirls and I have pictures to prove it. So about that.
At the end of the day, but it's real talk though. But I never thought about the parasite cleanse. It's like, what? And I should know, because I have a homegirl that actually went to Peru, and she came back with I guess you could say it's a parasite. She has like lesions on her skin that won't go away.
She needs to do a cleanse. She needs to do a parasite cleanse, because something in her is living off of her, literally and figuratively.
She is like, she went away and she came back, and all of a sudden she had these lesions that up to this day, it's been like 7 years, and the doctors can't figure it out, and whatever it is, but she just has these lesions. And then she got it just from going away, and she said that she doesn't know where she got it. She doesn't know what happened. She's wondering if it was from the blanket that she was sleeping in at the place, or if she picked up something at the beach, or in the water, or she didn't know what it was.
They're everywhere.
You know what?
Yeah.
And you had told, when you had mentioned this, it just automatically popped. I was like, yeah, maybe that's what she needs to do.
Tell her to holler at me. I'll give her the rundown, the breakdown, and all the recommendations.
Right.
I got her. But yeah, no. Kira's disgusted, but I promise you, I don't do the colon cleanse every 3 months, just because I've learned a lot about pH balancing, and about like natural flora and fauna. So there's actually stuff that you can eat, and natural supplements that you can take consistently that kind of help with you not requiring to do a full cleanse regularly. So that's also an alternative. I know people who do quarterly cleanses, so every 3 months and you don't even have to do it that long. A colon cleanse is really simple. All you need is like sea salt and warm water. And you do it
Okay,
for like
yeah.
3 days every 3 months. That's the simplest one. If you're not interested in doing a colon cleanse, and you need to do a colon cleanse, just to let y'all know, because people don't even use the toilet properly. That's a whole different conversation. But if you are not comfortable with drinking sea salt, because for some people it makes them nauseous and it works like Drano, it's like 15 to 30 minutes. Don't do it right before work because it's going to be a real awkward
Right.
drive in rush hour. But there are supplements that you can take consistently, like on a daily basis, that help with um,
Clarity.
keeping your parasitic levels low because you're going to consistently be exposed. There are supplements that you can take to consistently cleanse your colon. You're supposed to do blood cleanses because there are parasites in your blood. There's really simple things that you can take to keep your blood clean. So I
Well, if you're Jamaican, you drink tonic on a regular
Yeah, I
basis.
mean, one of the most powerful, like antibacterial, antifungal, natural products in the world is sorrel. Like West Indians been good. Like that's for a lot of people who don't live in developed nations, they probably have healthier stomachs and GI tract than people who live in the, and in quotation marks, developed world, because they there are so many things that grow naturally or wildly in the countryside that kids pick up as they're walking to and from school. Like my mom went and I were talking about something that I used in my hair, and she was like, "Yo, when I was like 8, like we used to walk like to and from school, and like we used to pick those from the trees and eat it." And so for a lot of people who don't live in developed nations where things are very sanitized, they find natural alternatives. Aloe is an amazing way to cleanse your colon.
It's
You can buy organic aloe vera gel, add it to your green smoothies. If you make smoothies in the morning, you can add it to oatmeal, you can add it to water, you can add it to tea, you can add it to juice. Easy way to clean out your colon. So there's a lot of natural things. Flax seeds, great way to make sure that you're regular. You can do the regular flushes that Kinetic was talking about. You can do herbal supplements. I'm huge on just natural products. That would be my only recommendation. Do not add additional chemicals to your system if you don't know what else is in there. You're inhaling chemicals you don't understand. You put yourselves in chemicals that you don't understand on a daily basis. You use those chemicals to cook with. There are chemicals in your food that you can't pronounce. You need a chemistry degree or a biochemical engineering degree in order to, break down what the compound is. So my recommendation is go as natural as possible if you're doing any type of cleanse, and just take care of yourself. You owe it to yourself. You only have one body and you currently live in it.
hmm.
Right.
All right.
But it does
So get
depend,
clean,
yeah. But
people. um, so
right.
on to lighter news and maybe yeah, not as not as deep. Sorry, I get like it starts to freak me out, and I start thinking about it, and it's like, but I keep saying it's like you have to go all in, but for me, it's like if I once I expose myself to certain things, certain knowledge, it's like very hard to ignore it. So it's like when I'm ready to jump right in. So I'll, like I said, I'll follow your blog or your results, and I'll get some pointers from you. But I actually did pick some things up today that are supposed to be good. It's a really great antioxidant. So I'm starting there, and I'm just with just different things that are working with things that I'm dealing with right now. So little things that I have to be aware of, and my energy levels and things like that. So, but yeah, and you know what, people, like we must put it out there, disclaimer, like speak to your whoever you speak to. So whether it's a nutritionist, dietitian, doctor, um, whoever your specialist is, you can consult. Don't just be jumping into anything because I don't know if I've said anything here, and for
Oh
people.
yes, I'm not a doctor. I'm certified as a specialist in sports fitness nutrition, but I'm not a nutritionist.
Mhm.
There's a difference. I'm not a naturopath. I just like learning. I would recommend seeing a Western doctor and seeing a naturopathic doctor.
Yeah.
Um, Second opinions matter. Make sure that they didn't go to the same university.
And
Yeah.
while we're at it, I'm neither a doctor thing, but you know what? I'll take my mom and grandma's and
Yeah.
100-year remedy, generation remedies over the doctors or anything. So if they give it to me and I'm good enough now, I'll give that advice to anybody later. So
Yeah, I think a good mix of it all is great. And I like doctors, like doctors that like MDs who are open to other um, uh, options as well, and not just all about drugs. And it's interesting. I was watching, well, on the news again, and there's a man who claims to be able to cure cancer stage anywhere between stage 1 and 3. Stage 4, he says it's a little difficult. And I guess it depends on the type of cancer or the area of the body. He's here in Toronto, and it's interesting to watch him speak with such passion about what he has, this cure, and how it can help. And I mean, the news is putting it on, and you have other people commenting like, okay, this man's a fraud, and the big fight against it. And a girlfriend of mine was speaking about it. Um, Obviously, like you said, the establishment or even this pink ribbon, sorry, campaign. And I'm not trying to knock anybody's hustle or not hustle, but anybody's when they're fundraising and their drive and their desire to help find the cure and help fight, which I hate the word fight, you know what I mean? I think it just puts your mind, body in the wrong position when it comes to curing things. But how they've marketed these fundraising uh, companies and events and everything like that, it's sickening to me. It's sad in a lot of ways, because with all the money and all the so-called research and everything that's been going into these things, and nothing has come out of it. And I can't say absolutely nothing, but we haven't found this miracle cure. And then whenever people bring an alternative and they are knocked or called crazy because they believe in other ways to approach things, it just angers me. So and they're setting him up basically, in the way they present the story, especially on the news, is to make this man look like a crazy man. And he happens to be a man of African, well, he's African, I was gonna say African descent. I don't know where in Africa he's from, and he's here set up in Toronto and ready to help. Now, what he's pushing, I don't know. Is it true? Is there any validity? I don't know. I'm not, but just the fact that anytime someone steps up with an alternative, and there's, that they're faced with such like this push, and it is because you're going to cut into our money earning potential, I'm pretty sure, you know what I mean, and take some of our business away. So yeah, but again, I think it's up to every individual to research and look into things, and not only when it happens to you or a family member, when you get the bad news or you hear, it's like to prevent, right? And so ahead of time and before, and yeah, so I'm glad that we touched on this, at least if it helps anybody or sparks the interest in anybody, and helps you guys prevent anything, then that's great. But yeah, but don't be running and saying Miss Super Nerd or Care or Connect told you to do this and do that, and no. Speaking of sorrow, though, I'm looking forward to some my Christmas,
bet
my
you are.
Christmas, my holiday meals. That's why I'm like,
bet
I don't
you
know.
are. Is that what they call it in Jamaica now? Okay.
Tongue out everything. Yes.
I bet you it is. Out there
Yes,
like a Labrador.
there we go. A lizard. Yeah, but I hate lizards, by the way. But yeah, so yeah, so the Grammy nominations were announced. We're going to get into some other deeper things, people, but let's just get into some fun stuff. And I don't have the exact number. I should have it in front of me. I know, but Beyonce is now the most nominated artist in history, they're saying, not female artist. She's received the most nominations.
yes, she
Over
demanded
time.
it.
Yeah. Kanye told us that, right, the other day. But yeah, she's up there, and once again, a lot of Canadians on the list again. Drake, of course, and Justin Bieber. I think he's up with 6. And shout out to Major Lazer, like that song, which is one of my favorite songs. I just has special meaning, and I really love it. Cold Water. That's it. I was gonna call it something totally different, right?
That's a hype song.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
the team, right? You know, I'm sure you know at least one of the guys from
Wall Street
back in the
Fire.
day. Yeah. So congrats to them for being nominated again. And of course, what's his name again? Dread dude that cut off his hair. I keep wanting to call him the other one.
Abel, The Weekend.
No, The Weeknd. I keep wanting to say
Well, his
my
government
name's
name is Abel. I mean,
Boy.
that's what his mother named him.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. Well, yes, The Weeknd, and I swear there was one other. Oh no, it was Adele. Sorry, Adele. Adele is on the list, but actually she doesn't have the most nominations this year, surprisingly. So, but she's been kind of quiet. I mean, a couple of her tracks came out, but nothing crazy. But yeah, so I'll be watching. I actually still tune in. They never have my full attention, and I was telling my daughter the other day that you know nowadays I used to love watching the awards and to watch them first walk out on stage and see what they're wearing and see, how their hair is and everything, the artists and stuff. Nowadays, like everything, like they have the pre-shows and then everything is uploaded on all social media. So to me, it takes so much of the fun out of, or the excitement and suspense, I guess, of watching it. And then everybody predicts every damn award down to, you know, like, I don't know, awards you don't even know about. And so when you hear enough people predicting the same winner and then the winners and you know what I mean? It's just like all the drama I think is taken out of things nowadays and put into like, so stage productions such as award shows, I think have lost so much of their touch because of social media, in my opinion. And other things it helps in other ways, the things that never get the attention, never get the shine, and I think it's added there. And into other more serious news where we're going to get into as well with some of the shootings and just other things that probably we would never know about and never, just because mainstream media doesn't always put it out there for us. But so do you guys still watch award shows or anything like that? Like these produced shows,
I
or
don't
do
watch
you just
TV,
turn
so
at
Yeah,
all? Okay.
yeah. Off my cable, so
yeah, I haven't had cable in 2 years. I don't watch
yeah,
TV.
it's been about a year for me.
Wow.
I've cut off my cable totally. I like,
Plus, I'm not really a fan of modern day music. I'm kind of an old school head. Like, the
Mm.
most exciting thing for me that's happened in music this year was the fact that J. Cole is dropping another album because he's
Yes.
been my dude from Jump. I'm thoroughly addicted to the new Childish Gambino. I was a little surprised by the savagery of the Weekend album. Like, there were a couple of tracks that my sister put me onto, and I was like, hold on, who hurt you?
Hmm.
Who, no, who hurt you, boo? Come, let me hold you. We're gonna work through this.
Hmm.
So Abel, boo. If you ever listen to this podcast, know that there's still love in the world. You don't have to be a savage. Um, on top of that, there is consistent messaging about how these award shows are rigged, and so that kind of takes away the magic out of it. I don't think I've been excited about an awards show like the Grammys since like Michael Jackson's last performance, and Prince is dead, Michael Jackson is dead. I mean, Beyonce ain't bad. I'm not gonna knock Beyonce, I'm not gonna knock her hustle, but I remember like waiting because you just didn't know like how much your mind was going to be blown. And now it's just kind of like I waited, and then it's like they always drag out the biggest name until like the end of the 3 hours of like mediocre subpar performances with people who are lip syncing half of the time, and presenters who are awkward and crack the worst of jokes.
Yeah.
Way too many
It cut those
commercials
out.
that I really don't care about products I'm never going to buy. And then at the end, that last performance is
oh
like, so I
no, yeah.
waited 3 hours for this.
Mm.
Really? No, I could have popped my popcorn for something else. So no, I will not be watching the Grammys. Not knocking, anybody who's been nominated. I really hope Chance the Rapper wins
Yeah, he's up for
the
it too.
hip hop album of the year because I just love the fact that he's still independent, and that the labels don't own him. And I think that would speak volumes about the new millennial generation. Um, I don't care who's going to be on the red carpet, because everybody going to be half naked. from a female perspective,
Believe it or not,
and
that's the
all the
only
dudes
reason
are either
I
going.
watch to see what they're wearing. I like fashion. That's all.
I believe
I
it.
mean, it's either, they're going to be half naked, or, they're going to be faux classy. And, they're going to have interesting hair. And the dudes are either going to be wearing suits that should have spandex in them, or look like they got dressed in the dark and they don't have friends. Like, there are just way too many things that are just going to happen that I'm just going to sit there and be like, you know what? No. I need to see better portrayals of humanity. So I don't have cable. I will not be watching the Grammys. I'll let Black Twitter and Instagram put me on, because I already paid for my cell phone bill, and Instagram and Twitter going to tell me anyway. So
That's what I was about to say. Everything pertinent stuff that's gonna be to us is like, they don't have like the awards, the rap awards, like all those awards are all pre-done anyway, pre-show award, and they tell you,
Yeah,
and
announced. Yeah.
Drake won.
Well,
Blah,
no,
blah,
Drake.
blah,
I
blah,
think
blah.
that's. I
No,
think
they'll
hip
say
hop.
album
Yeah.
of the year. They'll show album of the year, but they say, and Drake also won. Blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah. And you're
No,
like,
they'll do
okay,
that. They'll do that to our dancehall or our reggae artists.
yeah,
Reggae.
no, they'll do that. They'll do that to hip hop too. They'll do all the stuff, but they don't. But they don't. All the words that matter to me.
No, I think they
Who I care
normally do
about.
the hip hop.
I don't care about just.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, no,
I,
no.
and
I just remember they bypassed them all. So since they started bypassing them all, I started bypassing them.
pretty
and
much. And I think
Agent
the other,
Sasco, out of Jamaica. I think there's been a lot of people who remember was oh my gosh, I forget his original name. Jeez. Um, That's bad. Anyway, but his new name, Adrian Sasco, he was not nominated for best. And a lot of people, I heard some of the tracks, and a lot of people thought this was worthy of a nod. And of course, I'm scrolling, and of course I see the Marleys, like, they're up. And
that's
sometimes,
almost like a
like,
default. It's almost like, oh, they breathed
yeah,
on a track. Let's give them a nomination. Like,
you know,
and I'm not knocking like the legacy and the history and their musical talent. Like, I'm not
of course
knocking the
not.
genetics, but I'm just like, bro, like, there are so many dope artists that don't get recognition. I don't know, award shows, regardless of whether it's the Billboard, American Music Awards, the Grammys, the Oscars, the Golden Globes. I might watch the Oscars for dope dresses, but then I look at these dresses and I'm like, I'm super tatted. There is nowhere that I'd ever wear a ball gown by Christian Siriano. So this is nice, but it's also the same reason that I don't read Vogue. I don't. This does nothing for me. No, I'm not hyped. Like,
Yeah.
I just they kind of by rote, and the thing that I hate most are the weird, awkward red carpet interviews by like ET, where like the presenter is screaming at the artist. The artist never makes eye contact with them. It's like they look at everybody but the person holding the mic. They all ask the same stupid questions. Everybody on the red carpet is going to be asked about Kanye, and they're going to all do the shout out. Well, I hope you get well soon, my dude, and, take care of yourself. And, we know what's coming. Like,
There's a Grammy show right there in a nutshell.
I know, right?
like,
I'm
pretty
like,
much. Oh
no.
my God,
Well,
who
I'm
are
gonna
you
watch it
wearing?
to
You look
see, okay, how
amazing.
much
Congratulations on your engagement. You
to
look,
fact check.
how old is your baby? Oh my God, your snapback body. Oh, you're working with that trainer that everybody else works with because he was featured in People magazine. And, what are your thoughts on, Lady Gaga coming out and talking about post-traumatic stress disorder and, Kanye West's recent, psychological break? Really? Like, we all know where this is going. We know where this is going. And then you're going to ask about the project that's been on YouTube for like 6 months. Like, bruh.
Well, I still watch. But I've been guilty of like totally missing shows because it's not like I put in my calendar, and it's kind of one of these things that if I'm not, if I remember, if I'm not doing anything, and there are other shows too. Like one of my addictions, I actually missed the first 3 episodes, and we're on number 4. That was the first one I watched, just because Sundays happen to be very busy. I'm doing it, and I have a lot of options, and this is it's a good day for me to catch up with phone calls and everything like that. So it's like 9 o'clock. I'm like, shoot, I missed my 8 o'clock show. You know what I mean? So I'm not that connected. However, if I remember and I like, I look forward to it just because it's something to do. And the things that aren't scripted and the things that aren't planned and the things they try to bypass or clean up real quick, those are always
You won't miss so Beyond
best
Million
things.
anyway.
They'll be on YouTube like 30
But
seconds after
guess
they
what?
hit the
And I don't,
TV.
and that's the thing. And I'm not people have said it to me like certain programs that you know I might miss on TV. They're like, who watches TV anymore anyway? And they're just like, you can you could find everything online. I personally don't like the process of finding stuff online. Number one. Number two, it's not the same experience for me, and I like actually, and so I hate people's post. Like I wouldn't say hate, but all that comes with the posts. I'm half of that I'm not interested in. If you have like one dope person who, their opinion actually is kind of cool and you could take it, fine. But half the time, like the way people
Oh, you're talking about like the
post
reaction videos?
yeah, like no, the way they post in the comments and stuff, I'm like, okay, I could do without this. Let me just like take this all in for myself, and without anybody else's opinion. I don't want to be like, looking forward to something or looking forward to laughing at something like. And so I actually just avoid a lot of that stuff. I'll take it in for myself, and then if it pops up online the next day or the next, you know what I mean, then I'll see what other people are saying. But
You see,
I like to kind of have my own, and I tune out. And there are times where social media is just like, okay, break from you for a couple hours, but
yeah.
teaches them. You know what I mean? So we
No, and yeah, I can totally understand it. For me personally, though, it's like the reason the two things is this. Look, TV doesn't speak to us, right?
Mm.
It speaks to a wider audience that, what, they don't speak to, quote unquote black people or African Canadians, African American, whatever the proper term is.
oh boy.
You started breaking up, my dear.
9:59. We made it further. You have to start again, Kinetic.
They
Oh.
us.
Okay, Kinetic, we can't hear you at all. He's okay, and I really want to hear what you're saying because I'm interested in hearing. For me, I don't know if I look for TV to really speak to me. I just like, I scroll through, I see something that catches my interest, and I watch it. I don't tune into it for anything more than what it's supposed to be for me. Like I don't look to walk away any wiser, any like more fulfilled in life or anything like that. I don't know.
I think also I'm kind of like Kinetic in the sense of
Are you there, Kinetic? Sorry to cut you.
I'm here.
No. Oh, because we
you
couldn't
cut
hear
off
you
like
at
your
all.
entire statement was like Stephen Hawking, like it was a computer.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't even know why I've been.
There you go
Again.
Well, for the first 45 minutes of the show, you were good. So I don't know what happened all of a sudden. You come back though. 'Cause you cut in and out.
I'm in the same spot that I've always
There you go.
been. I'm never nothing. Can you hear me?
I don't know if it's
Y'all good?
I don't know if it's your tablet. I don't know. Like, but it's
I don't know if
always like
connection.
when you. It's always like when you start saying something like really good, like it's like the juicy stuff is when it always cuts out, and I'm like, I need you to stop acting like a Shonda Rhimes special.
It's
Like
a
you can't cut out.
I don't even know what to do. I'm in the same spot doing the same thing.
They don't like when you start talking about they don't talk to black people. They just start, okay. You ain't talking to them either.
It's the feds. It's the feds. It's the feds. The feds are watching.
So stop using that term.
Okay, I got you. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't speak. For me, the whole reason I've cut off TV, I stopped watching TV was for the radio. I was like, again, they don't speak to us. Like, you know what? They don't think we're relevant. So every time I view one of their shows, what happens is I'm saying to them, you know what? Yes, because they know exactly who we are. Like, so through whether through like not SoCan, but with Nielsen scans or whatever it is, it's like every time that we watch a show that doesn't speak to us, we're saying to them, okay, they're still making money off of us by us watching that show, by advertising and all that stuff, right? So I said, you know what? On the other hand, I'm going to cut off the TV and I'll go buy a product that's speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like something's relevant to me. So these shows, they don't speak to me. I don't think they're relevant, but yet, again, when you have Star Wars that goes on with all the controversy that happened and said, oh, they can't have a back. Next thing you know, it's the biggest selling movie of all time history. We, as black people, have to change that. We have to start saying to you guys, look, start advertising to us. Start speaking to us. we're watching their shows and they're not respecting us. But they respect the fact remains that when we spend and for the money, but they're not respecting us in whole. So I just have this whole I guess TV campaign thing. Whereas you know what, I'll watch what I watch online, and if I like it, I'll go buy the movie. Or I will, you know what? Or if I know, I'll go watch a show I think to get the Nelson scan. If it's something like, you know what, the the Book of Negroes, I'll go watch that on TV. Things of that nature. I don't think that's speaking to me because look, at the end of the day, if you don't respect me, then you shouldn't respect my money either, and you shouldn't get my money either. So that's just what it comes to me. It's not necessarily a race thing, but it's a respect thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't watch the Grammys. I don't watch all those award shows because they don't care about us.
And I think sorry.
No, go on.
I think the other thing for me that makes me hesitant to invest in shows like the Grammys is a lot of artists who are celebrated and recognized on the Grammys don't really respect me as a woman. So for me, it's kind of like, why am I co-signing when for 12 months out of the year, you're telling me how I'm a hoe or a trick or I'm a statistic or you don't, experience the same things that I experience because you're ridiculously rich. And I'm just like, I'm hyper aware about where I invest my attention and my energy these days. Right. So I'm not giving my energy to something that doesn't benefit me. And what I was saying before is, Kinetic said something on the show, a few months ago that really resonated with me. And when I went to Houston, I heard something that kind of, recapped that. I'm all for doing things for enjoyment. Don't get me wrong. But there are times when I sit there and I'm like, I watch the Grammys. The TV network is getting richer. The advertisers are getting richer. The celebrities are getting richer. And my bank account hasn't changed. So if I'm going to watch a show, then I want to watch something that inspires and motivates me. So I'd rather watch the ESPYs. I would rather watch, the Nobel laureate. I'll even watch the Victoria's Secret show that came out, I think it was Monday. Not because I spend money at Victoria's Secret, but because they celebrated and honored Black women's natural hair. That's the only reason why I watched it. The only reason why I watched it. So I'll pour my energy into that because I want that choice and that decision to celebrate Black women as they are naturally made to be celebrated, because I want to see women who look like me on TV more frequently. So for that, yes, I will put my time and energy into it. But when I look at the Grammys and, people like Lil Wayne on the red carpet being asked about, Donald Trump becoming president-elect, I really don't care what Lil Wayne has to say.
Right.
Not now, not ever, not next week. I don't knock it. He's richer than I am, but intellectually, he doesn't impress me. And so it's just don't interest me anymore. Same thing with, with movies. Although I will say, random sidebar, I'm super hyped because the new trailer for Transformers came out. And the nerd in me is losing her mind. Okay, and we're back to regularly scheduled programming. But studios like Disney who make movies like Transformers or who are making movies like Black Panther, you can get all my coins, all of them. The fact that you have a completely Black superhero cast for a multi-million blockbuster movie, yes, I'm turning up front row. I want advance sale tickets. I'm buying the T-shirt. I'm buying all the posters. I'm losing it. For stuff like that, I'll pour into that. But the Grammys, nah. I'm good. And I really don't want to see who's sleeping with whose husband this year. Gossip got me covered. The Shade Room got me covered. I already know, I don't need to see the Real Housewives of Atlanta on the red carpet. I remember when the Grammys used to be about musical talent and not who has a reality TV show. Those were the good old days. Well, I don't want to see who threw water in each other's faces and D-list, celebrities in quotation marks talking about the projects that they have and their Instagram boutiques becoming brick and mortar boutiques. I'm not paying cable. No, I'm not paying Rogers for that. Sorry.
But you see, that's the beautiful thing about what you just said too. And that's the next thing is that a the Grammys and all those things have become just one big marketing tool to market to us. They're getting paid to market us their stupidity. And then on top of that, the reason I've cut off Rogers also when I had Rogers is simple, is that I'm paying $100 a month for my cell phone bill just to be on social media. Nobody calls anymore. It's text or it's some Instagram or some kind of message or iMessenger. Or the other part of it is you're watching. They have 100 and they don't have 20. It makes no sense. Everything's online. All I have to do is go on my tablet. I can watch whatever show I want, commercial free, headache free. I can watch it. So it's just like, you know what? I think about is get the Android, but we're swearing by right now. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm all for the Android box.
You know what?
I'm here for Chromecast,
I get
Android,
bus,
internet, Fire Stick. Get your life. Get your life. You pay for it one time, and you're done. That's it. Get your life.
Okay, so speaking of being online, I came across this the other day. I don't know, Kinetic, you commented on something I shared amongst us, or I don't know if this is what you were commenting on actually, but this whole Google search, sexy white mom, sexy black mom, yeah? And what comes up. And
See, this is when he really has something to say, and it's definitely not working. Do you see the shade? The feds don't want him. The feds don't want him to win.
Yeah, you calling out Rogers how you cut Rogers. Rogers like, oh really? Let me mess with your something here a little. We're gonna get you back in the loop, but so we know that it's how photos are tagged, and but you also said something, Ms. Supernerd, that I commented on in a personal conversation about the source of these images and the fact that these images exist, period. So for anybody, because it was very new to me, I don't know how long this has been a thing or a discussion. I just saw someone that I know. Okay, and so someone I know, she actually started, I'll give her a little shout out, she actually started a Instagram page at Sexy Black Mom, and with the hashtag, she's running with that and putting up images of sexy black moms that she and other mothers and other people feel should be celebrated, the images and what should come up when you see when you type that in. But it is what it is, right? And so this is the first time I saw it, and I was appalled. Like when I typed it in, and I actually haven't even started following her because my daughter and other young people I know are on social media, and it's I don't even want to.
First of all, they already
highlight it for them. I know this is the thing, but I don't want to be the one to highlight it. I don't want to be the one using the hashtag and starting to follow, and then someone else does it, and they're like, "Oh, where's this come from anyway?" Because they're inquisitive, and then they're going to Google it and see all that is there to see. And I don't know if I want to be one of the reasons that they stumble upon it. So,
interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of one way that I look at things, and I don't want to lead other people. And yeah, so. But have you seen it? Did you check it?
I did not check it because I did not need to check it. I saw the reactions. I am also studying search engine optimization, so I understand how the Google algorithm works. And so for those people who are kind of oblivious to this, which is fairly fascinating for me because it's all over social media, basically, when you tag a picture, the way that Google search is set up is that it is set up to search the words that you seek, as well as associated hashtags or associated tags that are most frequently used with those words or with that phrase. And so what used to happen originally with Google search up until about 2003 is when you search for something, it was very literal. So if you put in sexy black mom, it would literally only find things with that tag. And then it kind of expanded to this intuitive, almost AI set up where it now looks for anything that is frequently said. So, for example, if you're searching for a dog, but people frequently search for puppies and then they frequently search for leash and kennels, it not only brings up things that specifically have the word dogs in them, but it will bring up kennel recommendations and, pet stores and things of that nature. So with this search, and I don't know who started it, but they actually made it worse because you actually increased you actually kept on teaching the algorithm to continue to search for the same type of content. So with this search, what basically happened is that the majority of images that currently sit on the web that are tagged with the name sexy black mom are on pornographic sites. And the majority of tagged with sexy mom are different content. Now, this goes beyond just what currently comes up because it also speaks to how much imagery or positive imagery of Black women in motherhood actually exists. So people want to be mad at Google. That's like being mad at a microwave for burning your food, but you put in how many minutes the food is supposed to cook for. The microwave simply did what you told it to do. What people need to understand is that, especially people of color, is if you do not own the platforms that represent you, you do not get to dictate how you're represented. So if you do not have major media, whether it's digital, print, or broadcast, if you do not inundate the internet with a lot of positive images of motherhood and the beauty of motherhood and the sexiness of motherhood for women of color, then other people get to dictate what a sexy Black mom looks like, and they get to influence what comes up in the search. And so when this kind of started flying around social media, I remember somebody else posted it and they were like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. And they have, one of those super woke, conscious, extra hotep accounts that I follow. I'm not going to knock it. And I made a comment about how we as people of color have a voice in this conversation, and we own part of this content. We cannot sit here and suddenly be affronted when we co-sign misogynistic messages about women of color on a consistent basis. You tune into the Real Housewives of Atlanta. You tune into Love and Hip Hop. You tune into every other show that has women who are parents, dropping or, suddenly, oh my God, my secret sex tapes, suddenly got out and we're shocked, but we all ran and we watched it, or we all posted about it, or we all clowned it. So you once again reaffirming these messages. We co-sign rappers who denigrate women of color, who talk about sleeping with their boy's baby mama. We are co-signing the very images that all of a sudden we want to be mad at Google for. And I'm like, but I can guarantee that all of y'all are real. I can guarantee everybody who's ticked off in this thread right now listens to Future. You do, don't you? I don't see any of y'all saying I'm going to boycott Future because he doesn't represent Black women the way that I want them to be represented, but you're mad at Google for a search? Google didn't make the content. Google simply tells you how to find it.
I think what people expect Google to do is clean it up. Once they see it and they know about it, they need to clean it up.
Because the thing is, Google doesn't own, Google owns search. Let's be very clear. The internet is not owned by Google. Google is the most popular search engine in the world.
Yeah.
Fact. They have the largest majority share. The exact same search results come up if you search on Yahoo or if you search on Bing. Google does not own the internet. The people responsible for cleaning up the images and the tags on the images that have come up are the people who own the websites that Google locates. Google does not own those websites. Google does not have shares in those websites. Google does not make money off of those websites. So at the end of the day, Google is not responsible for cleaning it up. Now, that same thing came up when somebody said, there was a search that came up with the Obamas where if you search Michelle Obama or Barack Obama in Barack's first term, the images that came up predominantly were monkeys and chimpanzees.
Yeah.
I didn't make those pictures. Once again, Google is a tool to help you locate information. That is what Google is. They're a search engine. They are not the internet. And people need to start understanding that they are two very separate things. The internet, the World Wide Web, is a collection of websites sitting on a global network. That is what the internet is. Google is simply the detective that helps you find information quickly based on the search information that you put in. It does not tell people what to put on websites. It does not dictate how people build their websites. What they simply do is that they ensure that if you put something and you tag it, your meta tag as a website developer and as a website builder is what Google uses to pull up the content that you put on your site. Google's not responsible for cleaning up millions, literally millions of websites. They're not responsible for providing disclaimers. Once again, you take food, you put it in a microwave, you punch in the numbers. You bought the food, Google did not. You told the microwave what to cook. You told it was popcorn. You told it to cook for 3 minutes, but it was actually Kentucky Fried Chicken. If your chicken burned, that's not on Google. Google is a microwave. It is doing the job it was created for. So let's not come for Google because this is not Google's problem.
No,
the problem
I think
number one, the websites, and number two, the fact that Black people are selective about what they're pissed about. This is the exact same situation with the whole Black Lives Matter conversation. We want to be mad when police officers kill Black people, but you don't check your son when you know that he's a known drug dealer and he has illegal weapons in your home. You know he's got bodies because he's got a tear tattoo on his face. But you want to be mad when little Pookie gets shot by a police officer on camera and doesn't go to jail. Your son killed somebody. So how do you have selective accountability and selective morality? You can't support rappers who have women twerking in videos and half-naked chicks in their videos, pretty much most of the same images, because Tip Drill was popping for a minute and everybody listened to Tip Drill. But nobody really came for Nelly. And he was on BET Uncut for a minute. He's still known as Mr. BET Uncut. He's still getting royalties for it. The Black community didn't boycott him. In fact, we continue to support him to the point that he owns partial shares in a professional sports team. So all of a sudden, we're offended by the way that Black women are represented, but we co-sign and pay into negative imagery of Black women who are mothers? Really? Really? Really, bro?
I think you can.
Really?
I hear what you're saying, and I agree, and you got all valid points, but I think you can still stand against something, and you can speak up against something, and if it urges, listen, just like everything is created, everything can be corrected with another creation or cleaned up, and if something, I'm not going at Google as far as, okay, Google's responsible for these images. Like I said, I just became aware of it. But I think combating, like bringing it up and saying, hey, this is what happens when this is punched on your search engine. We don't think that should happen. Maybe you should take a look at this and figure it out how it does not happen anymore. And I don't think that's wrong of anybody to ask, especially those who are offended because they consider themselves or they have been told that they are a sexy Black mom. I mean, I really don't care. Like, it's just it's another conversation for me to have with my daughter. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think every opportunity to speak about an issue or speak about something that she might hear about or run into online is I'm prepared to deal with that as a mother. But I think to call or to bring it up and then to say, okay, we've seen it, we know someone at Google has seen it, you gotta figure out a way to do something about it. I don't think that's a big ask. I don't think that's a crazy thing
an
for
almost
anybody to ask.
impossible ask because you're asking Google to basically restructure an entire search engine based on tags that they don't have ownership of. That's like saying, your car caused car accidents because the person behind the wheel of the car was drunk, so please change your car.
No,
the car is not the problem.
No,
once again, it's the driver.
I believe that they can figure it out. The brains that create
but they don't.
I believe they can.
They don't have to figure it out. So that's here's the thing that people keep on forgetting. Here's the thing that people keep on forgetting. This isn't about Google. This is about the sites that host the content and tag Black women in this manner. This is about the fact that Black people give permission, give other races and other groups permission to view Black women who are parents in this manner. This is not about Google. And people need to start being hyper aware about where they're placing accountability, because once again, you're treating the symptom and not the problem. The problem is that the majority of images that represent Black motherhood are disrespectful, hypersexualized, patriarchal, and misogynistic. That is the issue. the Black community to begin with, which is supposed to protect Black women, which is supposed to uplift Black women, which is supposed to show how Black women are supposed to be treated, has done nothing to ensure that these images are actually a deviation from what the Black woman standard is. They've made it the norm. So when white people, Asian people, Latina people, Indian people think that Black women are loose or angry or any other stereotype about Black women, is because it's been reinforced within the Black community. It is in the content that Black people create first. It is in the visuals that Black people co-sign first. And for people to go to Google and be like, well, you know, Google, we're really mad that when the search comes up on websites that you didn't build and, you know, it's disrespectful to us, you need to fix this. No, they don't need to fix it, because Google is not the problem. The problem is, number one, how we represent ourselves, and number two, the websites that represent us. We don't own those platforms. We don't dictate how those platforms. This is no different from the TV shows. If you want to go for Google, go for NBC, go for VH1, go for BET, go for Centric, go for every TV show that has Black women throwing glasses of champagne in each other.
And I think a lot of people do. A lot of people
but they
do.
don't. No, we don't, because if that was the fact,
They
reality
do,
TV shows like Love and Hip Hop would not be expanding
and
to new
they're not
markets.
only supported by Black females or Black people.
Once again, this is like hip hop or R&B or any other musical genre.
That is
we
not
co-sign it first.
By us. No.
We say no. We okay. Who made hip hop pop? Who made hip hop pop?
What I'm saying, okay.
Who made hip hop pop?
We have to think about what is
we
hip hop.
Did.
And we can have a whole other conversation about this. And the hip hop that I've co-signed.
If we co-sign those images first.
No. Let me make this point. The hip hop that I fell in love with, and a lot of people fell in love with that we always reminisce about, did not contain these lyrics, did not contain those images. I'm not saying none of it was present at the time, but a lot of what has happened is not directly linked to hip hop artists, Black people. It's not, and it's a bigger. There's a bigger system, and
the joke is,
and people play into that system.
No, yes. I sat there as part of my homework, because when this came up, it was a classroom debate. As part of my homework, not only did I look at the Google search, I didn't pull it up, because you can actually go into Google Analytics on the back end and see how many times something has been searched for. But then I decided to go on Twitter and search sexy Black mom. And you can actually check to see how many times it's posted, who's posted it, where they're located, and what their racial demographic is based on the content that they post. Do you know who the majority of the people who were posting that content was? Wasn't white dudes. Wasn't Asian dudes, wasn't Latina dudes. It was Black guys co-signing the very same websites that generate the very same search results that people are all of a sudden affronted about. And once again, my point is this. We don't own the platform.
They're not the ones crying.
We co-sign the content. No, once again, we don't own the platform. So if you don't own it, you can't change the tag. You don't change the conversation, because these dudes aren't saying, oh, this is disrespectful, Pornhub needs to take this down, or this is disrespectful, Vivid Pictures needs to stop making these movies. These dudes are posting like, yo, this is lit, did you see this, and so, and oh my God, Cherokee, and yada, yada, yada. So you're basically telling the creators of this content, make more, and if you tag it with these specific words, I'll search for it. You're creating a Pavlov's dog reaction as a consumer. You buy it, I'll continue to generate it. The simple laws of supply and demand. And Google is not responsible for that. Consumers of the content who search for it and make this the most popular search term, and these images the most popular images, because you teach the Google algorithm what to continue to look for. So if we dictate what we're looking for, that's not on Google. Once again, Google is a microwave. You're choosing what to cook in it. And Google is not responsible for suddenly going, well, you know, I'm sorry that you burned the chicken by you putting in the wrong instructions and you putting in the wrong time. So now I'm going to change how I cook to fix your issue.
What are you saying, Kinetic? You're... Oh, boy.
Chime in. Chime in.
And now we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
No.
Nope.
No, can't hear me?
Now, yes.
You can't?
Nope.
You're in and out, in and out.
Finally.
Can I just, okay, I'm just going to.
Oh, there you go. Oh. There you go. He's here. He's back. Kinetic?
Hey, what
Okay, while you work on that, I just wanted to let everybody know, can't hear you. I guess you can't hear us either when it's happening. Anyway, Superman Jones had checked in, Sugar Bait had checked in, listening. No. And I've actually posted the link to join the conversation on the YouTube page. So if you're viewing, however you get here, you're going to land on the YouTube page. So whether you send the vexradio.com link out to someone, or if you click the link on my social media, right now it's on my Instagram page, people can click that link as well. You'll end up on the YouTube page, and from there, you can join the conversation. Just look to the right-hand side where the comments are, and I think you should be able to hover over and click on that link, the Hangouts link, as long as you have Hangouts on your device.
I don't know if
Wow.
Kinetic is walking in front of a fan. He's in the middle of a tornado.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, you have an echo, so we know that you're in a hallway, but we can hear you.
Damn. Anyways, what I was trying to say about if I could be the neutral voice in this this discussion, you both have very valid points in terms of how Google is a search engine, but they do have control over content. That's how you buy their content. I mean, you buy your advancement on their website for searches. So they can control.
No, that's not how it works, but continue.
What do you mean? That's that if you want to be on top of their list, you can buy your top. You can buy them.
No, there's a difference between search engine optimization, which is what these websites have done, versus versus advertising. Those are two different things. So when you're searching Google,
I'm talking about
so you're talking about the paid. So paid versus organic search. Paid is when you pay for placement and you sit in the advertising bar on the right-hand side of every website search.
No, I'm actually talking about I'm just talking about just for searching, you'll be on the top of the list. They can.
You can't pay for that.
They can. But I'm saying they have control over their content.
They do not have control. I just explained this. No, they do not have control. As I explained at the beginning, the Google search algorithm is set up. If somebody searches for something that has never been searched for the very first time, what the algorithm does is that it pays attention to, number one, how many times you search for that specific statement, how many other statements similar to that statement are searched for, and how many other matching tags on websites are used. That is how the algorithm learns how to optimize content that comes to the top. So when you search for dog and you search for puppy, and those things keep on coming up on the same websites and tags, and then you search for leash and you search for kennel, when you search again, Google not only pays attention to your location, they not only pay attention to the frequency, they not only pay attention to where you've gone, but they look at the tags on the most popular sites based on search, PetSmart, or wherever else it may be, and they pull up content that is related to your initial search, which is the word dog. So if you search sexy black mom and the first image that ever came up was a woman in a bikini, what Google will then do, because you have taught the algorithm, and if you click on that image, if you click on that website link, because Google follows you, Google will then realize you're looking for black women in bikinis who are talking about motherhood. If you search for sexy black mom and you specifically go sexy black mom, comma, or semicolon Pornhub, it will go and find the most pornographic tag with the word sexy black mom. And if you continue to pull up that search as a user of the tool, what the tool does is that it learns based on millions, if not billions of people plugging in similar search results, that this is what is a priority to human beings. It is a microwave. You teach it how to cook chicken the same way over and over again, it will do so. So Google is not the issue. The issue is, number one, the platform, and number two, who is putting in the search.
Well, actually, what's really ironic is that before this even came up, I was having a conversation with a gentleman actually on Saturday afternoon, exactly about this. What we were talking about, the platform, what we're talking about is how to manipulate Google to the point that when, like, it's like what we're talking about generation, like we're talking about for mortgages, lending and mortgages and stuff like that, how do we generate that we become the number one go-to site over all these other ones? And he was talking about how to manipulate. He was talking about exactly how Google works and things of that nature. It's ironic that this was brought up, this conversation. And
you can also get banned and have your website taken off the internet for trying to manipulate Google search if you get flagged.
Yeah, maybe.
There are
maybe
a good 15 algorithms that are publicly known that actually track the manipulation of search, and then a good few hundred and about 500 updates a year where Google consistently ensures that people cannot manipulate the search. So 95% of the time, until it's caught, the 5% is when it hasn't been caught, 95% of the time, the searches that come up in the organic area, meaning the main body of a Google search page, are unpaid for. You can generate more popularity by linking to similar sites to yours. You can generate more popularity by correctly putting in keywords and meta tags, but you cannot manipulate the search. There are companies that have gone bankrupt, web-based companies that have gone bankrupt, attempting to manipulate web search. So when people sit here and they go, oh, Google can fix this, I reiterate, Google is not responsible for fixing the psychological perception of what a sexy Black mom is. Because once again, you could fix the search. You do not change the perception. What you're simply doing is you're treating the symptom and not the disease. And what I was saying before when Karen and I were speaking, and she was saying, Black people are not the only people who listen to hip hop. We made hip hop popular. We made hip hop culture popular. We made R&B popular. We made country music popular. We made rock music popular. We make things popular. We make reality TV shows popular, because if we don't watch, other races don't co-sign. That is why we are so pissed with appropriation 24/7, because we are the juice. We got the sauce. But if we are the ones who are saying that these images are okay on every other platform, but we're only pissed about one, we're only pissed about one conversation, we're treating the symptom, not the problem.
You see, but when it comes down to the relativity of that, it's like, okay, we made it popular, but they made it profitable. That's the difference.
And
so
I said, if you don't own the platform,
that conversation, whether making it popular or not, is totally irrelevant to the fact of me that what we should be paid is that they made it popular and we're not profiting from it. I don't care.
But I said, my statement was, if you don't own the platform,
right.
You don't get to change the conversation.
Very true.
Black people want to be mad when they're fronted against, but you don't put yourselves in positions of power to ensure that that cannot happen. So we're sitting over here. Everybody got mad when BET was sold to Viacom. Are you surprised? Everybody wants to be like, oh, well, these reality TV shows are trash. But you keep on investing in the same cable companies that pay these television studios to create this content. You keep on buying from the advertisers that create and fund this content. Your money is basically telling these people that disrespecting your females and your Black mothers is perfectly fine. You are the ones who are running rampant and roughshod on Twitter, posting this content that you Googled in order to find.
Well, here's my thing.
You're surprised?
I think...
Because I'm not.
Well, I mean, me personally, am I offended? I'm a sexy Black mom. Am I offended by this hashtag and the post? Me personally, no. It's not a battle I'm taking on. The way I walk through this world, I mean, the fact that and people can go in on me about this, but the fact that when I worked in an office situation, I saw certain things that women of a certain body type could wear. And I used to sit and think, man, if I wore that same exact thing, it would come across so different and I would get reactions.
You're talking about pencil skirts, aren't you?
That's one.
I don't wear those to work anymore. I got way too many. Oh, right. You're curvy. And I was like, don't make me fight you today. Don't do it.
Or
don't
when
do
you
it.
turn around, you're walking away and you just know that, and you look back.
I don't have that problem because I have old people and gay people in my job. Ain't nobody checking for me like that. They just comment. But I still was like, don't make me fight you. It falls in the same category as, oh, your hair grew so quickly. Don't make me fight you, girl. Don't do it. There's way too much YouTube for those kind of statements. Stop it.
So I'm more bothered by that. I'm not bothered by it, but I'm more aware of things like that in everyday life that affect my choice of just everything, all my choices, and me having to think twice, and that's on me. No one there is saying you can't wear this, you can't put it on display, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's just my personal choice, and me choosing not to hear this and hear that, or turn around and see someone looking at me, whether it's in the office or on the way to the office or whatever. And there are some days though that I'm with it, and especially in the summertime, and here it is, and yep, keep looking and whatever. And so that search, and what hit me more, I was one of the people, because I saw this page, like I said, created by someone I know and I follow, and she's been pushing this page and this hashtag, and I understand what she's trying to do with it, and saw some of the comments, and I again, just so out of the loop. So when I Googled it and I saw it, and my reaction is like, I would never be one of these images unless someone used Photoshop or whatever, because I would never take a photo like that or be in a video like that could end up in someone else's possession to then post online anywhere. And so I am personally not mad at it, but I get the outcry, and I get why people are saying, okay, why don't you clean it up somehow? And if you can't clean it, then we're going to clean it up, because we're going to flood and create and put the images that we want to see. And I mean, however that works out, hey, I just know that guess what? We are looked at in a lot of ways as Black women. And whether or not there's a hashtag or it comes up in the search engine, these stereotypes and images that come to people's mind have been there before. I mean, we've seen images that go way back in time, and where this is how we've been looked at, and we continue to be looked at by a lot of people. And so I agree with what you're saying, is that it goes beyond this. It started way before this, and a lot of us have been a part of it, and so I get it. But I'm not mad at people saying Google figure out a way to kind of squash some of this, or
The easiest way to
delete or
the
clean up,
search is what your friend is doing. Like, you literally have to flood the internet with tags of positive images
and see what we want. Right.
And you own that. It's the exact same thing. Like, I remember when the whole natural hair conversation first started, and people were like, oh, well, you're not going to know what you do with your hair. It's going to be so unruly. It's snappy. Oh, my God, yada, yada, yada. And now hair care companies that only used to sell relaxers have to create products that cater to the natural hair community, because they were going to go bankrupt. But once again, this is the exact same thing that Kinetic said before. Your money dictates what kind of content comes at you. So if you're putting your money, whether it's your internet or your data or whatever, or your subscription to Pornhub or Vivid or, whatever other websites, into this content, you're telling these people it's okay. You're telling these people it's completely acceptable. If you're watching, Love and Hip Hop and whatnot, and the Nielsen sound scans, because they can pick up who lives in that household. That's why they also run a census, so they know how many Black people live in that house, how many of them are over the age of 18, how many of them have a job. That's how they profile and target you. That's how advertisers get to you. There's an entire psychological war on you, regardless of race, and you're telling them exactly what they should sell to you. Then you can't really be mad. Because you are, whether it's conscious or unconscious, people need to start taking ownership of their role in how the world, and you not watching TV or you not buying a magazine may not seem like a big deal, but companies have apologized, shifted cultures, redefined product lines, because consumers let them know that if you want to stay in business, these are our priorities, and you will not disrespect us in X, Y, and Z. Ben & Jerry's is booming right now. Booming. Okay? Booming. Highest selling ice cream brand in the world, 2016. You know why? Because they were like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. That's all they said. They're like, we're not going to play that.
Chunky Monkey. I used to love Chunky Monkey back in the day. Gosh.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, and some people were like, oh, Ben & Jerry's, they just did it for the, they did it for the coins. Well, he told them that they can do it for the coins. But the reality is Ben & Jerry's have always been a liberal ice cream brand. I mean, it was started by two guys who like to smoke weed. That's why their first ice cream was called Brownie Hash, because they wanted brownies after they did hash. So it's not like, these are like some super, Republicans sitting on Capitol Hill. These are dudes who have like beards and hang out with Willie Nelson. I'm not surprised. I'm not shook. I can't eat it because I'm vegan, but okay, keep it moving. So at the end of the day, my whole takeaway is this. Yes, the search is disgusting and it's disrespectful. Nobody's disputing that. But the people who search for this on a regular basis and like that content made it popular. The people who told other people to go look at it made it more popular. And instead of saying, this, if you search in Google, yada, 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 they're extremely disrespectful images of women of color. So let's eradicate this as the most, as the content that comes up in top search, and start tagging beautiful pictures of Black mothers with their children, or beautiful pictures of Black motherhood, so that these images go to the bottom. Because that's literally all you need to do. You literally just need to start selecting different images and tagging different images, and the algorithm learns. It evolves with the search. And y'all could have eradicated it in 2 weeks. But like most people with content on the internet, we look at it, we react, we share, and we don't provide solutions. We want somebody else to clean up the mess for us. Don't like how you're seen? Change how you're seen. You own your own perception. So, and it's funny because I have a friend who's a sex therapist. She has a 12-year-old daughter. Her 12-year-old daughter is the one who told her about it because she came from school and she's like, Mom, there's this crazy search. And she was like, what are you talking about? And her daughter explained, we were at school and, some other kid had, was on their phone and, they saw, something on Instagram telling them to go do the search. So they did the search and we all saw it and oh my God. And, her mother sat her down and was like, you're growing into a world where people's perception of you has never been of you as a child. Number one, you've never been a child to most people. You've always been a young woman. And that has made predators justify how they look at you. That has made other adults justify how they disrespect and treat you. It's not going to get any better. What you own is being the anti-stereotype. What you own is being comfortable enough in your skin to say, okay, that's that representation of them. It is not me. It is not an attack on me. And how do I change those images? But that's not you and it's not me. And there are people who look at me in the job that I do because I help people with a lot of issues that are triggered by this kind of content to become better. And they assume that I'm just like those women. And her daughter was like, yeah, because somebody at school said, well, isn't this what your mom does? And her daughter, who is extremely intelligent, was like, no, this is what my mom does. And her daughter could explain the psychology behind her mother's job. And the people were like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that was a job. And she was like, yeah, that's what my mom does. And she was like, no, Mom, I explained it to people. And it actually helped because, when he first pulled it up and he was showing it, like all the guys liked it. But then when I explained like how like it can mess with them and, all the bad things that could happen to them, nobody wanted to look at it anymore. So her mother had educated her prior to this about how she's going to be perceived as a woman. She reaffirmed that these perceptions exist, but she also gave her the tools to change that conversation. So, but she didn't go, oh, I'm going to go to Google and tell them to change it. She was like, no, I can't. Listen, I can tell Google to change the search and somebody will change it. 2 weeks from now, somebody will change the tag and the exact same content will come up. Change the fact that content is even popular. Change the fact that content even makes money. Make it obsolete. Just don't buy into it.
Well, that's the real solution. And I think even the images that exist, period. And things like this have popped up. And I've had to explain to my daughter that let's just backtrack. Not in this. It was to do with another young person and saying that even the fact that it exists is that's the first thing to tackle here. And that's the first thing that you are in complete control. Well, you are in control of. Like I said, what people want to create, manufacture and stuff like that. And people have destroyed people's lives by creating fake images or whatever. We've heard that. We've seen it happen. But as long as you know that your part and your role in it, and then it goes further, like you said, how we continue to push it or how we look away from things if it doesn't apply to us directly. And I think just owning our own behavior, owning our image and how we're looked at. And I mean, this goes back before social media. And I tell my daughter about this, is that when when it was straight up cameras, people go in someone's house and posing in their little panty and underwear and taking pictures, or giving it to their boyfriend so he can have a picture. And then you end up hearing that the picture is circulated, things like this. So it's nothing new. I mean, the delivery might be different, but the behavior has existed, and why people do things. I mean, for the pleasure and just whatever else they get out of it, or how they get the pleasure from it. I don't know how people get off on different things. I mean, yes, clearly with some of the images we saw, I get it, but when people create things to destroy people, destroy their image, like and feed off of that, like I mean, I can't relate. So but know that it exists, and know how the first step in combating anything is first of all not even putting it in anybody's hands to do what they're going to do with it, right? So I think I totally get what you're saying with how this whole system works, and that's what I always think of too, is that it's not that it's impossible to change things, but you gotta know your role in it from the get-go, and be your own, just just focus on your own part to play in it, and like you said, take responsibility and not look for someone else to fix something. But I will say, I believe Google could do a little something to clean it up a little, and not make it look as bad. But why would they, and why should they? Like, if it's making, it's fueling their business, maybe some of them get little kicks out of it. Like, why would they? And it goes back to other arguments I've had. People who the privilege that they have because of whatever their sex or their race, and why would they change anything if they benefit from it? You know what I mean? So we got to stop looking at other people to make changes, and we have to figure out our way through it, and how we can push for certain change that we are going to demand, because we support in many different ways, financially being number one. It's a perfect example with the hair care products that you mentioned, and then supporting other people that are actually being proactive. And so companies, small companies that are coming out, or individuals that are speaking out against things, and instead of just thinking it's impossible or they're crazy to think they can go up against a big brand, or you know what I mean, or fight against the big power, support them and hop on on their cause sometimes. So I get it. Kinetic, you're back.
Yeah.
Hi. I don't know if you had anything to
I
say on this topic,
apologize.
on anything else, but other news in other social media news, and I mean it's bigger than social media, but this is something that's also being circulated, and very sad. And I actually posted a video, and I posted one of the comments that were a post, sorry, that was up about why the question is asked, why are people who continue to murder Black people being charged with manslaughter after? And so the last, so I'm sure you guys have seen with Joe McKnight, who is a former football player, he played both NFL and CFL. I don't know if you follow football, Kinetic. I've never asked you that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to Kinetic first, since you've been MIA for a minute. But he played. I know it was one of the New York teams, right? Jets, I think, and he played in Canada for Saskatchewan, and I think there was another team he played for in the CFL, and he was murdered, shot, somewhere in New Orleans. Like, it wasn't in the suburbs or something like that, and it was by a white man who shot him at. They call it a road rage incident, and I know a lot of people were outraged over the fact that when it happened, I think the shooter, he was released initially, and I guess people took
with police security. With security.
Right.
He had a police escort
And
too.
and people take that as, okay, he's being let go, free, not, here we go again, nothing's gonna happen, and they're, so it's, I think the incident happened on December 1st, but it's now a few days later, he has been charged with manslaughter. And again, this is where people are saying again, why is it being considered manslaughter and not murder? I don't know if you guys have heard of this, and if you have, here's the thing. Okay, I don't know what that is. Who's counting money? You counting money, Kinetic? Or
Oh
it
no,
sounds like,
yeah, no, it's not
sounds
me.
like a machine. Sorry, but again, and I mean, it would be considered like a little higher profile because he's a name that people can tie to established, like, so CFL, NFL, and he's a football player. Um, but once again, the posts and the reaction I've had from some people I've talked to is, here we go again, and people are just going to post for a minute, get upset, and then that's it. How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel people posting, expressing their views, maybe venting a little? Do you see something wrong with it, or is this a part of the solution, us putting it out there and making it everyone who may not be aware of it, and following a case like this to maybe possibly help change what's going on? Or is it in vain? Like, and I say this just because a lot of people just feel, who I've talked to, just feel like it's worth, like, what's the point? And they're tired of seeing these posts and things like that. I personally am not tired of seeing the posts. I think when you acknowledge someone's life and point out how they died, in, especially in a case like this, and follow what is happening in the case, I see nothing wrong with it. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me personally, what it comes down to is you've asked a couple questions, so
Yeah, I have. So whatever. And
yeah. The first one's like, is it? Well, you got to remember something. Miss Super Nerd said it. I've said it a million times. I believe you said it. Is like, look, there's a war on black people. Okay, I've said that. There's no proof or evidence of it, but I truly believe, as I guess you want to call it conspiracy theory, that there is a
oh, there's
psychological.
proof.
Yeah, well, there's no. I'm
Yeah.
saying is we can't quantifiably say that there's actual proof, but I truly believe that. And when I say that, you have to believe room for doubt. To believe leaves room for doubt. So, but the fact remains is that when these officers are shooting and people are shooting so bravely without you know being afraid of reprisal or from the law or being charged, there must have been given some kind of permissions for this to happen. We all know that there's been as I said, we all know there's been a war. There's a war. Whether it's been it's sanctioned or not, it hasn't been proven. But I truly believe that's been sanctioned because these officers, white people, wouldn't be so brave to come out and shoot us just like just like that, and it wouldn't be so rampant. We are afraid to shoot somebody, even if it's our own kind. We're afraid to shoot because we know we're going.
There you go again. Can't hear you. A super nerd. I don't know if you want to jump in at any point, just because. But
I'll jump in. So for me, I saw it. I'm not really surprised by anything that's happened thus far. Not even the slightly deranged and extremely defensive press conference to announce that Richard Gasser was being charged with manslaughter. And I've said this before, when the whole, Black Lives Matter kind of reached its initial peak earlier on this year. I don't denigrate the rage and the pain that Black people are experiencing in the United States. I understand the reasons for it. I understand the multiple causes for it, beyond just the police brutality, which is just one piece of a much larger equation. Um, the U.S. elections happened, is in what, 8 weeks, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago.
The actual
Half
election,
of the,
um,
yeah, half of the country didn't turn up to vote.
a month ago, yeah.
We didn't elect people who looked like us or who represented our best interests or who would advocate on our behalf. Um, and don't get me wrong, there were some great strides made, with female senators of color in, certain, districts, and that was great. The U.S. Constitution, with regards to how a person of color is regarded, did not change until the end of Jim Crow. That's less than 30 years ago. The U.S. elections made it abundantly clear that race relations in America is a wound that needs to be examined and dealt with. And the people who arrest people who kill Black people, the people who try people who look like Black people, the people who judge and determine the severity of the punishment for people who kill Black people don't look like Black people. They are not Supreme Court judges. They are not lawmakers within a constitutional or federal sense. They are not public defenders, no prosecutors. They do not qualify for jury duty because they usually have criminal records of their own, valid or invalid. So when a Black man is murdered in cold blood, whether they are famous or just a regular Joe, whether it is on camera or off camera, whether they are witnesses or supporting evidence, it no longer surprises me when they are not charged with murder and they are given a charge of lesser severity. I also have friends who are lawyers, so I understand why manslaughter charges are given, because the rule of law has multiple aspects to it. It is not black and white. They are moving pieces because every crime is not exactly the same, and a lot of people don't understand that. I don't care about charges. I care about convictions, because convictions mean that there is accountability for heinous actions. I care about fairness for crimes across the board. I care about consistent justice. I care about consistent representation. So I'm not angry. I'm not apathetic. I'm aware and pragmatic. The reality is, people are mad about a system that wasn't built to protect them, that does not have resources to empower them. And people feel that co-signing that same system and marching against that system is going to change. What needs to happen is that the system needs to break. And people need to stop, once again, funding things and funding people who do not look like them. And Killer Mike made a statement about voting and the election process 3 days or so before the presidential election, which was also the Senate election, the congressional election, your election for your mayor, your sheriff. He named all the roles that were up for election. And he said, make people earn your vote. Hold them accountable to the promises that they make to you as constituents. And ensure that if you vote somebody into office, they represent your interests and will deliver on the promises that they make. That is what he said. And the interviewer said, are you saying that, people should blackmail politicians? And he said, that's not what I said. What I specifically said is make people earn your vote. This is no different from somebody dating you or from somebody wanting your business. If you're going to make an investment, which is what your vote is, invest on somebody who's going to give you a return on investment. People of color continue to use methods that have failed them to change a system that does not represent them. They pour money into corporations and businesses that fund private prisons. So these people want you to keep on going to jail, that don't empower you, and that don't put you in positions to make the changes that are fundamentally necessary in a system that doesn't represent you. So we could be mad. We've been mad since colonialism. We've been mad since slavery. We've been mad since Jim Crow. We've been mad since the drug war of the 80s with Ronald Reagan. We're mad, but we're not changing anything else. We're just mad. We don't buy black. We don't elect black. We don't trust black. And we wonder why black is at the bottom of the totem pole. I have said this from the very beginning. Rage is perfectly fine. Everybody deserves to be heard. It is not my job to tell people how to feel. But rage without resource is nothing more than a temper tantrum. And adults, meaning people in positions of power, people who control resources, reserve the right to ignore your rage. You're a $1 trillion community. You don't even pour it into yourself. Why would other people find you valuable when you don't value yourselves? I said this at the beginning of the show. Black Lives Matter wants to march about a white man killing a black man, but there are neighborhoods in Chicago where hundreds of people die every weekend. There have been killings in this very city where people have died. And when people are questioned about what they saw, snitches get stitches. But a mother goes to a grave on a daily basis and has buried a 16-year-old son because you're more worried about the perception of people who don't pay you, feed you, fund you, or make you a better person than ensuring that your community is safe, than ensuring that a 6-year-old girl is going to wake up and actually get to see Christmas, that a grandmother is not going to die in her recliner because a 14-year-old has an AK-47. Really? Snitches get stitches. We don't drive accountabilities in our own communities, but we want other people to be accountable for valuing our lives. You can't have selective morality about life. It doesn't matter if Richard Gasser killed a white man or a black man. He killed somebody. What matters is that we have once again taught people how to view us, how to value us, and how to perceive us. We have not held them accountable because we have no way to do so. And he'll probably walk. He got charged with manslaughter after he was released. I've never heard of somebody shooting somebody, being charged, and being released without bond, bail. He didn't pay anything. They just were like, okay, go home. You're not a threat. You killed somebody. I don't care if you are a geriatric and you picked up a shotgun by mistake. You're going to sit here until you've been psychologically evaluated, until I'm sure that you are not a risk to anybody else in the community. Exactly. Since you shot somebody with road rage and you're getting back behind the wheel of a car. And I sure as heck am not going to give you a police escort to go home. Because I don't know if you're going to be mad at a pregnant woman who's Caucasian. I don't know if you're going to be mad at an old Latina lady behind the wheel of an Eldorado. I don't know. But the sheriff released him because we've taught them that Black lives don't matter.
They've established that.
So at the end of the day, I'm not mad. What I would like to see is fundamental changes, first of all, in how Black people think, and a strategic plan that goes beyond marching and a one weekend boycott. The Alabama, bus boycott worked because for months people walked to work instead of, they bankrupted the city. So once again, money talks.
And suffered while doing it. Yep.
And suffered, but they understood that this was bigger than just.
No, that's what I mean. They actually felt something, but kept pushing.
But people don't like pain. People don't like discomfort. So if you're comfortable, because this is, and once again, Black people no longer have the "it takes a village to raise a child." Because I came from a world where if my little brother had been acting a fool on the street, he got beat by every adult on that street until he got home, and then he got beat again. Because we don't do that. You don't represent just your family, you represent all of us. So how dare you disrespect what we are trying to build as a community? And how dare you disrespect yourself? But now I could see somebody's son with his pants hanging low, and I'm like, well, that ain't my kid. My kid wears his pants properly. Until that son puts a bullet in my son, and now that son is my problem. But I had opportunities to check him. I had opportunities to mentor him. I knew his daddy wasn't there. I could have taken him under my wing. I could have taken him to all the places that I took my son because I can afford 3 cars in my driveway. I don't need them, but I can afford them. And I could have given up driving one of those extra cars that probably is just leaking oil on the driveway anyway to go and take that kid, put them in the same events. Because I understand that one day that kid is either going to put a bullet in my son or help build a community with my son. But he's not my problem. And when he kills somebody else's daughter and I see it at a barbecue, I didn't see anything because, we don't snitch. But I'll go to the funeral and I'll shake his mother and I'll shake that woman's hand and be like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And girl, you just got to pray for it and, just be strong. Really? 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 Okay. Sure. Be mad. Do something about it. That's my takeaway. Do something about it. Stop being mad and start making changes.
Well, I hate to end the show on a negative or a sad. It's not negative. That's a positive message, and just that I think we have to repeat over and over. But I kind of figured this would be a 2-part show anyway, because there are a lot of things that we didn't get to, and a lot of other things that, like I posted about that we didn't even touch on. And so we'll be back next week, Tuesday, live to air as usual, right here. VexRadio.com. If you missed any of this show, I have to, sorry, before I say that, Kinetic is gone. We lost him. He wanted me to apologize to all the listeners for not being able to say peace out. To continue without him, doesn't feel right, and we're at that 2-hour mark anyway, or over 2-hour mark. So we'll continue on with him in the mix next week. And like I said, if you missed any of this broadcast or want to share it with anybody, it is available as a podcast. I will post again all the podcast players on my page, Cake with Care C, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I will allow you, Ms. Super Nerd, to tell people how they can follow you.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter currently at Miss Super Nerd, 3 S's, not 2. And hopefully very soon I'll have a web address for you with lots of goodies.
Mm-hmm. We'll be looking out for that parasite cleanse.
I start next week, Thursday. Pray for me.
I will. Good luck with that. You don't need luck because you're determined. It sounds like you're determined to do it. And
I'm going to do it. Listen, I've done every cleanse on the planet. I've done the Master Cleanse, the military diet, the cabbage soup diet, the egg and tomato diet, Isogenics, Herbalife, the 10-day green smoothie cleanse, some green smoothie cleanse that I made on my own. I've done it all. I've done a water fast. So when it comes to cleansing, trust me, I tried it. I did it. Some of them worked. Some of them messed with my metabolism. I can tell you how not to do it. I recommend that you don't do most of the ones that I just recommended. But I'll keep y'all updated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll look forward to it. And we'll be back here next week, Tuesday, live. Join the conversation next time. I actually had missed, I did shout you both out, Superman Jones and Sugar Babe, whoever. But I think I missed you guys because I wasn't on that screen. So we'll keep it locked next week. And because it was good to have Mr. Superman join the conversation last week. And so we encourage anybody else, if you heard anything from this show, since we're going to continue or do a part 2 type of thing next week, please feel free to comment in the meantime, and plan to join us next week or Tuesday. I don't have the date in front of me. What would it be? December 13th, I think.
Yeah, December 13th. It's funny because my first cleanse ends Friday the 13th.
Ooh. Okay. So join the conversation live, and once you click on the page, you're going to see the YouTube page that you can watch and listen to us on. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the link. And as long as you have Google Hangouts, you can join the conversation and share your, give us your 2 cents plus tax if you'd like.
And know this, plus shipping and handling.
Right? Until then, and remember, vexradio.com, best place to listen to hip hop and R&B, old school, new school. They give it to you 24/7, 365. So once you finish listening to us now, you can continue listening to vexradio.com. Until then,
Holler.
take care.